The landscape of Los Angeles fashion has always been a battlefield, but the weapons of choice have traditionally been silk, chiffon, and the blinding flash of runway cameras. Not anymore. The simmering tensions between the Forrester and Logan dynasties have finally boiled over, spilling out of the pristine boardrooms and directly onto the unforgiving concrete of the city streets. The corporate espionage, the stolen designs, and the bitter defections were only the prelude to a much darker, much more visceral chapter in this ongoing saga. The rivalry has transcended mere business competition. It has morphed into a deeply personal, blood feud mentality that threatens to destroy the very foundations of the empires these families have built. Today, we dissect the catastrophic physical altercation that has shattered the illusion of high society, glamour, and plunged Forrester Creations into an unprecedented financial and public relations nightmare. To understand the sheer magnitude of this explosive confrontation, one must first look at the psychological powder keg that has been building over the past few weeks. Hope Logan Spencer, once the compliant, sweet-natured golden girl of Forrester Creations, committed the ultimate act of corporate treason by defecting to Katie Logan's newly minted fashion house. By launching the Hope by Logan brand in a surprise, impromptu fashion show, Hope completely eclipsed Eric Forrester's highly anticipated return to the haute couture stage. The Forrester family was left humiliated, their grand event overshadowed by the media frenzy surrounding Hope's bold move. For Steffy Forrester Finnegan, the co-CEO of Forrester Creations, this was not just a business setback, it was a profound personal insult. Steffy has always viewed Hope with a mixture of rivalry and condescension, expecting her to eventually fold under pressure. But this new, empowered Hope refused to play by the old rules, igniting a fury within Steffy that could no longer be contained within the walls of her executive office. Driven by a toxic cocktail of betrayal, stress, and an overwhelming desire for vengeance, Steffy found herself unable to let the humiliation stand. The extreme damage control she had been forced to perform to reassure the media and investors about Forrester Creations' future had pushed her to the absolute brink of her sanity. She needed to look Hope in the eye and deliver the full weight of the Forrester wrath. Early in the morning, before the Los Angeles sun had fully burned off the coastal fog, Steffy made her way to the headquarters of Logan Creations. She did not come for a negotiation, nor did she come for a civilized discussion. She positioned herself directly at the main entrance gates of the Logan building, a physical barrier meant to intimidate and dominate. Steffy was a woman possessed, her mind racing with every insult, every grievance, and every ounce of resentment she had harbored against the Logan women for decades. On the other side of this impending collision was Hope Logan Spencer, a woman who had recently undergone a massive psychological metamorphosis. The crushing guilt she initially felt over betraying her mother, Brooke, and the Forrester family had slowly hardened into a diamond-like resolve. The monumental success of her runway debut had validated her talent and her right to exist outside the shadow of the Forrester legacy. As Hope arrived at the Logan Creations headquarters, dressed in a sharp, authoritative power suit that sharply contrasted with her formerly soft, bohemian aesthetic, she radiated a newfound strength. She was no longer the fragile girl who could be bullied into submission by Steffy's overbearing presence. Hope had claimed her independence, and she was ready to defend it at all costs. She stepped out of her vehicle, her eyes locked on the imposing figure of Steffy blocking her path, and she did not flinch. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a pair of fabric shears as the two titans of the fashion industry stood face to face on the pavement. Steffy's posture was rigid, her arms crossed defensively, her eyes blazing with an unadulterated hatred that stripped away any veneer of professional courtesy. She immediately launched into a vicious verbal assault, her words dripping with venom as she berated Hope for her catastrophic betrayal of the family company. Steffi hurled insults that cut deep, accusing Hope of being a manipulative parasite who had stolen the Forrester legacy to prop up a second-rate Logan imitation. She mocked Hope's newfound independence, insisting that she would always be nothing more than a treacherous opportunist who destroyed her own family for a moment in the spotlight. Steffi's voice echoed off the glass facade of the Logan building, a relentless barrage of humiliation designed to break Hope's spirit and force her into a posture of submission. In the past, this exact scenario would have ended with Hope in tears, apologizing profusely, and shrinking away from Steffi's overwhelming aggression. But the woman standing before Steffi today was fundamentally changed. Hope absorbed the vicious insults with a chilling calmness, her expression remaining stoic and unyielding. She looked at Steffi not with fear, but with a profound sense of pity and defiance. Hope realized in that moment that Steffi's anger was born of weakness and insecurity, a desperate attempt to maintain control over a narrative that had already slipped through her fingers. When Hope finally spoke, her voice was steady and laced with an icy authority. She informed Steffi that she was no longer a Forrester employee, no longer a pawn in their family games, and certainly no longer obligated to stand on the sidewalk and endure a temper tantrum from a rival CEO. Hope's absolute refusal to be intimidated only poured gasoline on the raging fire of Steffi's fury. With a dismissive shake of her head, Hope took a decisive step forward, intending to bypass Steffi and enter the sanctuary of her new corporate home. But Steffi, blinded by rage and unable to accept this blatant dismissal, shifted her body to physically block the entrance. The verbal dispute had reached its absolute limit, and the atmosphere instantly shifted from a heated argument to a volatile physical confrontation. Hope, refusing to be trapped or delayed, did the unthinkable. She raised her hands and shoved Steffi hard against the shoulders, physically moving the Forrester co-CEO out of her path. The forceful push was a shocking escalation, a tangible manifestation of Hope's declaration of independence. The physical contact broke the final taboo between the two women, shattering the boundaries of professional conduct and plunging them into raw, unfiltered chaos. Steffi stumbled backward, her designer heels scraping awkwardly against the concrete as shock registered on her face. For a fraction of a second, time seemed to stand still as Steffi processed the reality that Hope Logan had just laid hands on her. But that shock instantly transmuted into a violent, retaliatory instinct. Steffi lunged forward, grabbing the lapels of Hope's tailored jacket, yanking her back with tremendous force. Hope retaliated instantly, her own hands flying up to break Steffi's grip. The two women, both leaders of multi-million-dollar fashion empires, were suddenly engaged in a desperate, undignified shoving match right at the gates of Logan Creations. They grappled with each other, their voices raised in a cacophony of furious shouts and breathless grunts. It was a visceral, ugly display of decades of pent-up animosity, jealousy, and mutual resentment finally exploding into physical violence. The scuffle was chaotic and intense. Designer handbags were dropped to the ground, contents spilling onto the pavement unheeded. The women pushed, pulled, and twisted, each trying to assert physical dominance over the other. Hope's newfound strength was matched evenly by Steffi's fierce, combative nature. They stumbled against the decorative planters lining the entrance, the physical exertion matching the intensity of their emotional rage. Hope managed to pry Steffi's hands off her jacket, delivering another forceful shove that sent Steffi reeling backward once again. Chests heaving, hair disheveled, and clothing rumpled, the two rivals glared at each other, the physical distance between them finally restored, but the damage had already been irrevocably done. They had crossed a line from which there could be no return, descending into a level of hostility that would forever alter the trajectory of their lives and their respective companies. Unbeknownst to either Steffi or Hope, their violent street brawl was not a private affair. Concealed within the meticulously manicured landscaping across the street, a freelance paparazzi photographer had been staking out the Logan Creations headquarters, hoping to catch a glimpse of the newly defected Hope Logan. Instead, he had stumbled upon the absolute jackpot of celebrity gossip. Through the powerful telephoto lens of his camera, he captured every single second of the altercation. The rapid, silent clicking of the camera shutter documented the aggressive posturing, the vicious shoves, the grappling hands, and the sheer, unadulterated hatred contorting the faces of two of the most powerful women in Los Angeles. The photographer knew instantly that he was holding a piece of digital dynamite, a video clip that would command an astronomical price and set the entire fashion and business world completely ablaze. Back at the gates, the immediate aftermath of the physical struggle was thick with heavy, ragged breathing. Hope, adjusting her jacket with trembling but determined hands, locked eyes with Steffi one final time. The message was clear, communicated without a single word needing to be spoken. The era of Hope Logan backing down was officially dead and buried. With a sharp pivot, Hope turned her back on her rival and strode purposefully through the glass doors of Logan Creations, leaving Steffi standing alone on the sidewalk. Steffi, her chest heaving and her mind spinning with a chaotic mix of rage and disbelief, glared at the closed doors. She had come to assert dominance, but she had been met with a physical and emotional wall that she could not break down. She smoothed her own disheveled clothing, completely unaware that her moment of profound loss of control was already being uploaded to the highest bidder on the internet. It took less than 2 hours for the leaked video to hit the mainstream media. A prominent celebrity gossip blog published the exclusive footage under a blaring, sensational headline, and within minutes, the clip went violently viral. The video spread like a digital wildfire across every social media platform, fashion forum, and news outlet in the country. The public was absolutely mesmerized and horrified by the sight of Steffi Forrester Finnegan, the polished and sophisticated co-CEO of Forrester Creations, engaging in a physical street fight like a common brawler. The footage was analyzed frame by frame, with commentators dissecting every shove and every furious expression. The pristine, elegant image of the Forrester brand was instantly dragged through the metaphorical mud, replaced by the gritty, undignified reality of a bitter, violent catfight over corporate defections. The fallout was instantaneous and catastrophic, extending far beyond the realm of social media gossip. As the opening bell rang on Wall Street, the financial markets reacted with brutal efficiency to the viral video. Investors, already skittish from the recent PR nightmare of Hope's defection and Eric Forrester's public meltdown, viewed the physical brawl as a glaring symptom of severe executive instability. Confidence in the leadership of Forrester Creations evaporated in real time. The company's stock valuation took a massive, unprecedented nosedive, with ticker symbols flashing an angry, relentless red. Millions of dollars in market capitalization were wiped out in a matter of hours as shareholders panicked over the highly unprofessional and volatile conduct of the company's co-CEO. The physical altercation had directly translated into a devastating financial blow, proving that in the modern corporate world, image and stability are inextricably linked to the bottom line. Inside the luxurious executive offices of Forrester Creations, the atmosphere was one of absolute panic and volcanic fury. Ridge Forrester, already on the warpath against the Spencer family and reeling from the recent corporate setbacks, watched the leaked video on his computer monitor with a look of sheer, unadulterated horror. The sight of his daughter, the leader of their family legacy, engaging in a physical shoving match on a public sidewalk caused something inside him to snap. Ridge was apoplectic, his legendary temper erupting in a terrifying display of rage. He slammed his fists onto his desk, screaming about the utter humiliation and the catastrophic damage inflicted upon their brand. He was furious at Hope for her defiance, but his anger was equally directed at Steffi for allowing herself to lose control so completely and publicly. Ridge realized that this was no longer a simple business rivalry. It was a desperate fight for the survival and reputation of the Forrester name. Meanwhile, safely inside the walls of Logan Creations, Hope Logan Spencer watched the chaos unfold on the news screens with a profound sense of grim satisfaction. The leaked video, while shocking, served as the ultimate proof of her liberation. She gathered her team, including Katie Logan and Bill Spencer, and made a bold, unwavering public declaration. Hope stated unequivocally that the altercation at the gates was the final, undeniable proof that she would never again yield, cower, or apologize to the Forrester dynasty. She framed the incident not as a moment of weakness, but as a necessary act of self-defense against a toxic and bullying corporate culture that she had finally escaped. Hope's declaration was a rallying cry, cementing her position as a formidable, ruthless fashion mogul who was ready to go to war to protect her new brand and her hard-won independence. This physical altercation and the subsequent viral leak officially ignited a dirty, unprecedented media war between the two biggest fashion houses in Los Angeles. The battle lines were no longer drawn with elegant sketches and runway shows. They were now drawn with leaked videos, character assassinations, and vicious public relations spin. Forrester Creations, bleeding financial value and desperate to reclaim their tarnished image, began preparing a massive counter-offensive to discredit Hope and the Logan brand. Conversely, Logan Creations, fueled by Bill Spencer's ruthless media empire, capitalized on the viral momentum, portraying Forrester as an unstable, archaic institution crumbling under the weight of its own arrogance. The rivalry had descended into the gutter, promising a protracted and incredibly ugly conflict where no tactic was considered too low and no secret was safe from exposure. The emotional and psychological toll of this physical confrontation will undoubtedly reverberate through the lives of everyone involved for years to come. Steffi Forrester Finnegan must now navigate the treacherous waters of a crashed stock price and a severely damaged professional reputation, all while managing her own volatile emotional state. Hope Logan Spencer, having crossed the Rubicon of physical violence, must embrace her new identity as a hardened warrior in the corporate fashion world, fully aware that the Forrester family will stop at nothing to destroy her. The innocence and the underlying familial bonds that once tempered this rivalry have been entirely eradicated, replaced by a cold, calculating desire for absolute victory. As the dust settles on the pavement outside Logan Creations, the fashion world watches with bated breath, mesmerized by the spectacular implosion of grace and decorum. The dirty media war has only just begun, and the casualties are bound to be catastrophic.